So in my last video on ImAllexx that I uploaded recently, I went over the allegations that were levied against him by his ex-girlfriend Alice. And since that came out, a bunch of friends of ImAllexx have given their statements that were shown on Twitter by Samuel with the caption, "Friends of ImAllexx, Inabber and Jake Baz, have spoken out about the recent Alex allegations. Both have condemned Alex's behavior and have shown support to Alice." On top of this, Slazo also made a return. He then shows Instagram stories from Inabber that start out with him saying, "Should say yeah, I know about the situation, and hope you all send nothing but support to Alice. Genuinely some of the most terrific shit I've ever read. Cannot explain how brave it is to come out and speak about this stuff, especially considering how long it seemed to have been going on. Really trying to not come in here with the eyes and make it about me, as this is about Alice, and she deserves all the support possible. But yeah, I should say of fucking course I didn't know about this until recently. I wasn't even aware the two had fully broken up until April. That's how in the dark I was on this. I have very much been in the dark on all of this until recently. The level of what was said in the document about him is just indescribable. Just absolutely horrific. The situation makes me feel genuinely ill, but also angry. But I would prefer to keep those personal thoughts private for now, as this is about Alice, not me. For fuck's sake, also aware that I misspelt document in that last post. But yeah, my head is naturally spinning a bit with this. Don't really think words can describe how I'm feeling about what I read in that doc. So I will say, please just be kind to Alice. Just send your support and be kind to her. This is so fucked up, and I wish nothing but the best to her. I honestly feel like I should, but also I want to say more, but I genuinely don't know what to write. I have like a million thoughts. I know this seems like a very unprofessional way to respond to this too, as it more just feels like I'm venting about it. But I'm not going to give some scripted PR document. This is one of the most fucked up situations I have ever seen. But for now, as I don't want to take away from the actual story in any way, I will say support Alice. Do not be intrusive and send her a million questions. I doubt she needs that shit right now. Sorry if this has been rambly. This is a painful situation. Another one of ImAllexx's friends, Jake Baz, makes an Instagram story about this saying, "Hi all, I have seen the situation. Please support Alice in her post, as it's absolutely vile and disgusting, the videos alone. It's genuinely horrifying. As Inabber has said, we were left in the dark about his relationship, only finding out they broke up 5 months later. Alice's story is one of the worst things I've seen for manipulation and disgusting consistent actions. I hope Alice has time and space to heal from this. Give her time. I am hurt by this. Please support victims. Support Alice's bravery to come out with her story. She really needs it." Nicholas Diorio shares another response from one of Alex's friends, this time being Memulus when he captions his post by saying, "Memulus has posted an Instagram story condemning Alex Emsley, ImAllexx. The Instagram story starts out with him saying, 'I'm aware of the Alex situation. I would usually wait until both parties have said their side publicly before speaking about it, but I think the evidence here is overwhelming. I spent this morning reading what Alice has written and going over the evidence she's provided, and no one should have to go through what she has. It's awful and disturbing and has seriously shocked me. I'm still processing what's happened. This is one of the worst situations I have ever seen in my life, and I hope Alice is okay. It took a lot of courage to speak about this. But it wasn't all universal support and love for Alice, as Cope and Seethe on Twitter brought up some concerns when they tweeted out, so I was pulling apart the doc that was dropped on ImAllexx, and I noticed that a few of the screenshots have been cropped. Interestingly, they were cropped within the doc itself, so Google preserved the rest of the image data, which I was able to extract. Here they are uncropped, showing that she labeled ImAllexx as racist N-word in her contact on her phone. Cope and Seethe continues by saying, "I wonder why she may have cropped these screenshots where you can clearly see she has ImAllexx saved as racist N-word in her phone, laughing my ass off." For anyone who wants to verify this, here are instructions for replication. 1. Download the original document as a .docx. 2. Change the extension to .zip. Word docs are actually just zip files, fun fact. 3. Extract the files and navigate to Word/media. Chaos Goblin responds by saying, "First of all, although this is disrespectful, I don't think this takes away from the fact that ImAllexx seemed to be manipulative, gaslighting, and disgusting abuser who needs to be called out for all this. You seem to be framing this like she's just as bad. Victim blaming isn't lit." Danzy says, "What kind of relationship is this? Laughing my ass off. Why on earth are two white people calling each other the N-word?" Meg says, "Clearly neither of them are model citizens. But please let's not use this as a reason to invalidate her story. I'm seeing so many people use this as a defense for Alex's actions, and that's so insanely sick and twisted considering he physically and mentally abused her. Love Who Harder quote tweets Cope and Seeds by saying, Alice Hess is a racist, and Alice Hess is a victim of abuse. Can coexist as sentences, by the way. Don't understand why some people saying this takes away from the allegations against ImAllexx. It is disingenuous on her part to be like, wow, look at my racist boyfriend, while also being racist? Yeah, it is. Did he also threaten to physically harm and kill her multiple times over? Yeah, he did. See how easy that is? Dog Brown responds by saying, but what if Alex was only abusing her because she called him the N-word? Have we really heard both sides of the story? Love Who Harder responds, good bait, worked very well. Does your mother love you anymore for it? Cope and Seeth updates their thread when they quote tweet themselves and say, the Alex Hess Discord server is now speculating that a black friend of hers might be responsible for changing Alex's name in her phone to racist N-word. Laughing my ass off. They then show Discord messages that start out with Vanon saying, you know it's funny because the context of her naming him that was because of how much he called her it. Jade responds, what the fuck is wrong with you? Meg responds, oof. Melon says, reporting for duty. And then Becca says, there is no proof that she typed that herself. She could have gotten a black friend to do it? Alice then responds to all of this by saying, I write in my statement multiple times that I became reckless with my use of language, because this was so normalized by Alex. I am well aware this doesn't excuse my use of the word, but it is an honest explanation. I apologize for any offense caused by this. Rennie responds by saying, abuse makes people act in ways they never would, and that go completely against their morals because the abuser blurs the lines between reality and delusion. You've handled this well. Some people won't understand it, but please know that there are people who get it. Danzy says, you cannot blame him for your use of that word, lol. And then you tried to cover it up by cropping it out. There's a whole side to this that everyone is 100% being missed out. Hex Siren says, the thing isn't right, we know that. But he used these words against her all the time, and hardly no one is mentioning that. She was in an abusive relationship. You all are totally missing the point. She admitted to it and said sorry. This girl has gone through hell. Richie says, I think people might be missing the actual point here. Alice was physically and mentally abused here and threatened. Anybody who is going to defend Alex after reading Alice's statement and listening and seeing what's been shared really needs to speak to somebody. Kate reacts to Alice's response by saying, you know y'all can agree that ImAllexx is a horrible person, while also calling Alice out on her use of the N-word, right? Both things can happen at once. Jay Swingler says, creators who knew about the whole Alex situation before it became public, only now speaking on it, is a prime example of creators being opportunists. Creators are so excited about drama, they completely forget it's a human being that's suffering. Where the fuck the concern and genuine support for the girl? God, I hate influencers sometimes. Prab responds, holy cook! Ellie says, I'm so confused. You think they were supposed to come out before the victim wanted to? And that would be concern and genuine support? Larnie says, I disagree. It's really not their place to talk about it until the victim is ready to share their story. Jake says, slightly unfair. It's clearly something that the victim only feels comfortable enough to talk about, so how would another influencer going public before she felt comfortable enough to approach the situation have helped Alice? Xylee Gets Real quote tweets Jay Swingler and says, oh shut the fuck up! What the fuck were they supposed to do? Tell the story for her? Not give her a chance to go through the correct channels first? Jesus fucking Christ, you people are fucking brain dead and don't know how any of this works. Nicholas Diorio quote tweets Jay Swingler and says, creators who knew for the last month gave Alex space, as she said she was exhausting her options with law enforcement. This was the correct decision. I also don't know a single person who had access to the full document of evidence. Creators are so excited about drama, they completely forget it's a human that's suffering. This would apply to the one YouTuber who went public with essentially no evidence and, in my opinion, pushed Alice to come out with her statement faster than she was prepared to. A couple more YouTubers made statements on Alex, like Mia and Will and E, who had their statements posted to Twitter by Lux. Both of these statements come from Instagram, with Mia's saying, this is something I have been aware of since May of last year, and is something that, in my opinion, is well known throughout the industry. I can't speak for people who aren't in our group, or who I don't see regularly, but the openness at which this was discussed amongst people last year, I find it genuinely hard to believe that creators close to Alex had no idea this was going on. When I found out, Alex and I were signed to the same talent agency. I immediately made them aware of the accusations and put pressure on them to drop him, which they did. This was June 2023. From the documents in the drive, it looks like things escalated even further from what I was aware of. Emotional abuse, threats of violence, use of racial slurs, which is so heartbreaking. I don't know Alice personally, but sending her so much love and support. Now moving on to Alex's friend Willini's statement. He says, firstly, I hope Alice is doing well and commend her massively for having the courage to get that out there. As Mia mentioned, there were rumors of his behavior earlier last year. Myself and a few others haven't had contact with him since, or been his friend for even longer. With that being said, the severity of the abuse that Alice published was far worse than anything I heard being discussed. That Google Drive is fucking abhorrent, and what he put her through is inexcusable. Justice for Jost reacts by saying, now I understand why James now only makes videos with Willini and ImAllexx, but not with ImAllexx. Because he knew ImAllexx was bad, and I remember a clip of him saying, if I stop hanging out with a person, that means that they are no good, or something like this. Tyler says, you say this with a Wilbur dedicated account downplaying the abuse he put Shelby through. James has stopped hanging out with Wilbur and supports Shelby. You are a major hypocrite, mate. And if you want to know about that situation, I have a video up on the channel all about it. But moving on, Evie responds by saying, you are a Wilbert suit fan. Give your head a wobble. Ty says, bringing ImAllexx, Willini, and James Marriott into ImAllexx drama is crazy. They haven't even done anything. Wanda responds by saying, you are right that dragging others into this that haven't done anything is wrong, but calling this drama is also wrong. This isn't a silly argument or high school drama. We have mountains of evidence that Alex was verbally, physically, and psychologically abusive towards Alice. Tive responds, obviously, I just couldn't think of another word. My bad. NNY says, right. I don't know about George, but Will and James stopped talking to Alex ages ago. Tive responds, exactly. Tommy C reacts to Willini's statement by saying, this guy went into business with Alex right after Slazo, and now he is shocked and appalled by his behavior. I guess making out a guy to be a sex offender is not all that bad in their world. Nicholas Diorio reacts to Maya's statement by saying, Willini's ex claims she had dropped Alex from his talent agency and puts pressure on his former friends. We then get another statement from ImAllexx that gets tweeted out by Smaggledaggle with the caption, it should also be noted that ImAllexx put out a follow-up statement about the situation. The post starts out with him saying, just to follow up, Alex and I lived together between 2018 to 2022. They started dating in 2023. I've only seen them in person 2 or 3 times since moving out. I don't socialize much at all in the typical UK YouTube circles, especially in the last couple of years. I only found out about the situation in general on April 2nd of this year, when a fellow content creator brought it up to me in a call, when I suggested a joint recording between us and him. He said he didn't know any specifics, or what was even being alleged, just that it was bad. All I had heard prior to this is that they argued frequently. A couple weeks later, Alice started posting TikToks alluding to the situation. It wasn't until just after that I got a bit more clarity when I was out for dinner with another creator, and they brought up the fact that Alice had briefly published some text messages from them on TikTok before deleting them. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know just how bad it was until I went over all of the information when it was made public. I don't want to take attention away from the victim, but I think it's important I clarify my position and timeline of events. Please send your support to Alice. But ImAllexx wasn't the only one to make a follow-up statement, as iNabber did as well, which we found out about on Twitter when Samuel tweeted it out with the caption, iNabber has dropped another statement against ImAllexx, and has put together a timeline of events. He's claimed that he didn't know what was going on with Alice, and that he feels guilty over it, and that his friendship with Alex was incredibly toxic and on and off again. Thoughts? He then shows more Instagram stories from iNabber, which start out with him saying, by the way, this is when I found out about the Alex stuff. This is me messaging him after a creator made some tweets calling Alex basically terrible and something on the lines of the truth always comes out. It then shows iNabber asking Alex on the 16th of April, the fuck is Charlie on about? Alex responds, and then iNabber says, sure. He continues to comment on this screenshot by saying, furthest thing I knew before that was rumors said to me by someone who went to a party that he'd fallen out with his housemates after they apparently wrote things down of him, saying shit talk about them. Back when Alex was living with the people he lived with, I did really speak to him much. Dude kinda went MIA day other than YouTube stuff, as he had a new set of friends, which was pretty normal. Only summer year Alex started properly interacting with us in a server to play games. I've always been a friend with him, seen Alex about once since 2023. The dude never discussed personal stuff with us, lol, solely just YouTube and games. He then shows some Discord DMs and captions them by saying, "This was March this year, when we thought they were still together or seeing each other, lol. Someone says to InAbber, has to be Alice. InAbber responds, you think? And then the other person says, I'm not answering these questions, to a simple question. Yeah, I think so. InAbber continues to comment on this by saying, we suspected they kept breaking up then trying to work on things when refollowing each other and unfollowing, but the man never wanted to discuss it with us ever. Literally zero idea what was going on. A refusal to talk about it, but no indication of the true extent. He then shows a Discord message from the 10th of January, 2024 where InAbber says, oh no, they've unfollowed each other again. I just checked. He continues commenting on this by saying, they were still making videos together, as was him and his old friend group until early 2024, so really had nothing to go off of. When I saw that tweet in April, I called him and was told about their toxic relationship. He then shows that he had a call with ImAllexx that lasted an hour on the 16th of April 2024. InAbber continues by saying, and from there to now, I and others were trying to work out what the hell was going on. With this Alice situation, I personally was kept in the dark on it for such a long time. I think what makes me feel truly guilty is I genuinely thought those two were really happy together, until me and my friends saw signs they kept falling out via unfollows and TikTok reposts. I know even before this situation, Alex has been involved in a lot of stuff, but I've always been loyal to him as a friend, and tried to stick by him, even if he was perceived as a dickhead by a great many of people. Me and that man used to argue and fall out a lot, but last year when we started playing games together, I genuinely thought he was becoming a much better person, and happier person, and I thought that was because he had finally settled down with someone, and that thought now makes me feel ill, and an overwhelming amount of guilt. Me, my friendship group, Alex, and even Alice used to play games together quite a lot, and now looking back on what the fuck was going on, genuinely fucking shocks me, and makes me feel so ill. Sorry to make these stories about myself, but I thought I'd explain a brief timeline of events for further understanding. Me and Alex had a very toxic friendship. I would prefer to keep that private for the most part, but all these clips, recordings, messages in the document, I read them for the first time this week too, and that makes me feel more sick. The fact I got zero honesty even in the end. Whole thing is just awful. And again, nothing but my support goes out to Alice. I think what makes me feel really disturbed is being genuinely worried about them as a friend between December and March of this year. I noticed he was upset a lot more when we played games, or discussed YouTube in calls, and I plus others in the group tried being there as a mate, even asking him what was up quite a lot, never got an answer. So instead we just played games and hoped things would get better him. Just a mate supporting another mate, who was going through it mentally. Just so fucked up knowing why he was actually upset. But yeah, honestly, that's as much as I can really say, as that's basically the whole timeline. Another ex-friend of ImAllexx, King Annie, also came out and made a statement about her experience with ImAllexx. The document starts out with her saying, though we never confirmed it to the public, because I personally like keeping my relationships private, I dated Alex from June 2017 until March 2018. It was the most toxic relationship I have ever been in, and I was lucky to get out of it when I did. When we were dating, though he was from England and I lived in America, we were pretty much never apart for longer than a week. We stayed in Europe for a couple months, then went to America for 6 months. He couldn't stay 6 months straight due to visa implications, so we stayed 3 months, flew back to England for a few days, then came back to America for another 3 months. After this 6 months was over, and he couldn't come to America again for a while due to visa requirements, we spent some time away from each other, and during that time, with the help of my friends, I came to the realization that I was in the worst and most toxic relationship I had ever been in, and I had to get out. It started out great, as they always do. The honeymoon phase, as they call it. But as time went on, things got worse and worse. I was fortunate to get out when I did, but reading all the new information that comes out, he's clearly gotten worse. During the relationship, he made me feel insane. It never felt like he listened to me. I always felt belittled and inferior. Whenever we recorded videos together, he would constantly talk over me and never let me have a moment. Most of the time when I had problems, he would always somehow make it about himself, or talked about his own issues. He would get stressed out over his YouTube channel constantly, and complain about uploading, as if it was the hardest job job on the planet, and no one had it harder than him. His classic line was, "I can't catch a fucking break." If we ever had a disagreement, he would also sometimes allude to the possibility of killing himself over minor conflicts as a threat, so I couldn't continue with the conversation. It was nearly impossible to give him any kind of criticism, because it was like adding to the pile of minor issues that he had already blown far out of proportion in his head. Another thing he did was spin his own narrative and twist words. He didn't just do this in the relationship, he did it in his work and with his friends. It was the main reason why many people stopped talking to him, because we started to realize when there was even the smallest amount of drama and he heard about it, he would make sure to involve himself, even if the subject had absolutely nothing to do with him, and he would just make everything so much worse. For example, the Slazo situation. Though it was never said in the original statements by Che, he somehow came to the conclusion that it was rape, and everyone else got the blame for saying his words. Somehow, the situation went from being guilty of being a bad boyfriend to all of a sudden he's a rapist. That was the final nail in the coffin, and I cut all contact with him after that. During our relationship, I bought him and I matching Alex and Annie bracelets for Valentine's Day, because I was like, oh neat, a company with both of our names. You can see him pressing the heart on the bracelet to his lips in his Back to Nothing video, which he has since taken down from his channel. She then links in archive.org of this footage. This video was released as a response to me breaking up with him. He uploaded this video after I stopped talking to him, as a way of trying to guilt me into replying to him. He did to me what he has done in his relationship with Alice, where he would fly off the handle and get mad, then act all apologetic and sad to try to get me to feel sorry for him, and forgive everything he has said and done. Lastly, the only time he ever laid a finger on me was when he grabbed me as I was trying to run away from a conflict. We were trying to record a YouTube video together, and he was getting frustrated at having to restart the recording multiple times. He started shouting and beating his fist on the table, even going as far as to break his microphone. I was scared, so I got up to leave the room, which is when he grabbed my arm to physically stop me. I remember saying, "You grabbed my arm," several times in shock, as if to say, who the fuck would ever grab someone like that? Once again, I was fortunate that that was the only time something like that ever happened. I got out before it got even worse, as it clearly has with the new information that's come out. It saddens me that it's all come this far. I wished Alice the best privately, and it breaks my heart to have seen all the things she has gone through. I hope Alice's and my story show you what he was really like behind the scenes. If you are in an abusive relationship, please get out now. You can't fix them. Wavy Websurf responds to King Annie by saying, "Laughing my ass off, you helped spread those Slazo allegations. Don't try to slink out of that. You heard a rumor, did zero vetting, and went with it. Take some accountability for what happened. You co-signed that false story." Infixed YouTube says, "Didn't the two of you collaborate on accusing Slazo?" Mango responds with old tweets from King Annie, and the caption, "Yeah, sure. You did nothing wrong yourself." These tweets are from June 28th, 2019, and it starts out with King Annie saying, "In regards to the Slazo situation, Michael is still guilty for what he did in the past. Whether Che intentionally or accidentally left some bits out, he still admitted to it in the video, but people are glossing over it. He gaslighted Che, which is a form of manipulation. If someone talked to me like that in a relationship, I would have left. But Che was 14, and she knew no better, while Slazo was 16. That's a massive mentality difference during those ages. Also, that's not how I remember it is a shit rebuttal. At this point, it's he said, she said. I'm still sticking with my friend Che, though Che may have made some mistakes. I don't want to be around someone who treats someone they are supposed to love like that. I hope he gets some therapy to sort out his issues." The Confusing Opinion responds to King Annie with another tweet from 2019 where she talks about Slazo by saying, "Innocent people don't stay quiet for this long." Penny responds to Annie by saying, "Bro literally glazed ImAllexx 4 years ago when you were trying to cancel Slazo." Comment Cop reacts to King Annie weighing in on the situation with a picture of old men sharing secrets, and the caption, "A second Google Doc has hit ImAllexx." Irrational Chad then makes the same joke when he quote tweets Annie and says, "A second allegation has hit ImAllexx." Nicholas Diorio says, "Mr. President, a second Alex Emsley allegation has hit the tower." Nick then tweets out the part of King Annie's statement where she mentions Slazo and captions it by saying, "This passage goes crazy. I think this genuinely might be her first real public acknowledgement of the Slazo allegations, and it's flinging Alex's lifeless corpse under the bus. Laughing my ass off. I don't doubt he was more involved than you. But what is this?" Another ex-friend of Alex's, Blues Dank, tweets about the situation when he says, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to be that guy. I fucking warned so many people about Alex's behavior. Just lack of care for anyone but himself, and his genuine desire to want to constantly cause chaos, and I was ignored for a long time by a lot of people. Alice coming forward with what she went through has finally made even his closest friends realize. But the truth is, he has done a lot of what was documented in Alice's case to others before, and people just let him get away with it. Why? Very easy cop-out to just say, we weren't friends with him, haha, when realistically you kind of enabled his behavior to only worsen by giving him a platform. Why did the E-Boys even fucking exist when everyone was saying, why Alex? Tommy C responds by saying, you warned them, lol, they all knew, and they didn't care if they thought they could get a buck out of him. We then get another statement, this time from ImAllexx's former roommate, that was posted by Nicholas Diorio on Twitter with the caption, ImAllexx's former roommate puts out a statement, Alex Emsley. He then shows an Instagram story from George Clarkey who says, in light of the recent statement and videos coming out about Alex, and having previously lived with him, I know a lot of people have been asking for my opinion on things. This isn't and would never be behavior that I would condone on any level. A year ago, I decided I wanted to move out. Stop making videos and associating with him. I had heard things he said about myself and others making videos with him at the time in a similar narcissistic manner shown in Alice's screenshots. I had spoken to Alice prior to her statement about his behavior, and things that I heard him say to her, but I had no idea of the severity or relentlessness of what was happening. It's truly gross and disgusting behavior. I just wanted my standpoint to be known, so the focus could stay on the person who was brave enough to tell her story. Wavy Websurf responds by saying, I heard his dentist is sitting on a career-ending Google Doc that they are preparing to drop. Izzy says, what's disgusting is how y'all are making it about every single other creator, and not Alice. This is a really fucked up situation, and she needs support. Blame the abuser, get him off the internet, and focus on Alice the victim. I really feel for that girl. She must feel awful. Steven says, can't wait for his barber to come out and say Alex was rude and flipped him the bird. And that is about it for Alex's ex-friend's response to all of this. As this story continues, I will be updating you guys on this channel, so don't forget to subscribe with notifications on. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you want to hear what I think about any drama, you can go check out my opinions channel, Mayo Monkey, which will be linked in the description below. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.